Hello, Bond fans. Welcome once again to another James Bond audio fan commentary. I'm joined by Jack, and today we are going to watch and commentate on the first official Pierce Brosnan James Bond film, GoldenEye. Dun 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 dun. Which I believe is the 17th Bond movie. Yeah, 17th Bond movie, released in 1995, directed by Martin Campbell. So yeah, this would be his first Bond film. He would later
And the first Bond film for 6 years. It was the longest gap we had between a Bond film.
Well, yeah, I mean, since License to Kill, there was a 6-year hiatus. So there was originally there were plans for Timothy Dalton to do a third movie, but because it took so long, in the end, Dalton's last film ended his second one, License to Kill. So
yeah, and it's interesting because he was offered to do GoldenEye, and he wanted to do it, but Cubby Broccoli, one of the Broccoli said that he had to do more in his contract, and Dalton was already old by that time, so he passed on the opportunity, which I think is a shame because I mean, originally Brosnan was going to be cast
in the Living Daylights.
Yeah, in the Living Daylights, but they went with but he was contracted to Remington Steele, so they cast Timothy Dalton instead. And I think it's a shame that Timothy Dalton only got to do 2 movies because I thought his Bond was really great. And instead, Brosnan was cast. And, I don't have anything personally against Brosnan. I mean, I think the guy, he's a nice guy, but I just don't think he was really the right choice for the role. But we'll get into that later.
Yeah. But, I mean, yeah, and obviously this came out in the mid-90s, so it was a long wait, but we got GoldenEye, and it was the first film of the 90s, so this would see the series go out of its darker direction and try and go back to a classic direction. Well, or so we thought. And it'd be the first of 2 films that Martin Campbell would direct, as he would later direct Casino Royale with Daniel Craig. But, yeah. Once again, this is a fan commentary. This is not for financial gain. We can't show the film for legal reasons, so you'll hear the audio. So if you want to follow along, put your DVD or Blu-ray in, put your timestamp to 0, and when we press play, you can press play and join in the fun. So, Jack, is there anything you want to say before we start?
Look into my GoldenEye.
Moving on. Okay.
Let's hope that we're not strangling the cat.
Oh, God, yeah. Right, let's do this. GoldenEye. I've not seen this one for a while, actually. This will be interesting.
Yeah, same. I don't think I've seen it since I reviewed it back in 2014.
Oh, wow. Okay, ready, Jack?
Yes.
3, 2, 1, play. Ooh. Hello, Leo. Leo the Lion returning once again. He's been in the most Bond movies.
Yeah.
All 24 films.
I suppose you could say he's, apart from Bond, he's the only character that's been in all of them.
Yeah. United Artists. I wonder whatever happened to them.
Oh, they folded. The company folded.
Oh, God.
Oh, Jesus.
Here we have Eric Serra's awful soundtrack.
Yeah. And that gun barrel, I'm not a fan of the CGI gun barrel. And just Brosnan's stance in the gun barrel, it's just very bland.
Yeah. Okay, but it's just, it's very unremarkable.
And I agree with you, the score by Eric Serra is, well, quite frankly, it's rubbish. I mean, I think they did a complete misservice casting him. I mean, I would have just brought back John Barry. I mean, the last score he did was The Living Daylights, and John Barry was still alive at this point. He didn't die until 2011, so they could have brought him back to do this. Instead, we have
Eric Serra.
Yeah, and I think actually they replaced him halfway through the making of GoldenEye. I saw a Bond documentary about the Bond soundtracks, and like halfway through GoldenEye, they replaced him because his soundtrack just wasn't working out. But
Yeah. I mean, there are some nice tracks, but it is probably by default for me the weakest James Bond.
Yeah. I mean, this opening, I will say, is quite impressive. Like the the bungee jump off the Russian dam is quite impressive. Although it doesn't beat the jump off the cliff with the parachute and the Spy Love Me.
That is true, but I agree it is a very impressive piece of stunt work, and it doesn't look like it's a model shot. They've tried to cheat in the past and do model shots for the wide shots to kind of pop out, but thankfully they haven't this time, and it works.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure how many of his own stunts Brosnan actually did, but yeah, there's some good stunt work in GoldenEye.
Yeah. I mean, what's interesting is in the James Bond video game, Daniel Craig jumps out off the dam without a parachute.
Yeah, they sort of change it slightly. They have the opening fight, and then he just jumps off, and then it goes into the titles. But yeah. Slightly different.
I mean, Brosnan's entrance in the toilet, I agree with what you said. It kind of sums up his era. Like that's how you introduce him in the toilet.
Yeah, that was what you said in your review. Yeah.
No, but weren't you the one who said that first?
Well, I only said it because you were complaining about it in your review.
Yeah.
But I mean, either way, it is a bit of a silly way to introduce Bond. I know what they're trying to do, but it would have worked better in like the Roger Moore era, I think. Something that only he could have got away with, but not Brosnan.
No, I don't know why he started out in the toilet. I mean, he could have just, climbed into some other area. Why the toilet of all places?
I think, yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I think what sets off from the other three Brosnan movies is that it has the best plot. The plot is kind of interesting. It is entertaining, and it is the most well written of the Brosnan films. The other three films don't have as intriguing plots. I mean, I know in your review, Jack, you kind of slated the whole Alec Trevelyan thing and whatnot, but I still think it has some merit, and I could at least watch GoldenEye and say it's fun. Story's fun. It's easy to follow. It's not difficult.
No, I mean I do. I mean, I think I was, like I said to you earlier before we started the hangout, I think I was way too harsh on this film in my original review. I mean, I don't think it's a bad film. I just think it is easily the most overrated of the Bond films. I mean, I think for me, GoldenEye, I don't know why it's ranked so highly in the Bond franchise compared to the other films in the series. I mean, for me, it's just kind of forgettable. I mean, the villains. I mean, Sean Bean, I think, is a great actor. I mean, I know he was great in Sharp's Rifles, and he's in Game of Thrones and stuff. But I don't really buy the chemistry between him and Brosnan, and I just don't think the villains are as memorable as people like Goldfinger or Kananga or whatever. I mean, Oromov is just a nothing villain, and Xenia is just kind of weird. But yeah, I mean, it's not a terrible movie. It's not a 0 like I gave in my original review. I think I just kind of ranted on it because it was a Brosnan Bond movie, and I mean, it's definitely not a bad movie. There's definitely a lot of good parts of it. I just don't think it's as good as people say it is. It's definitely not a masterpiece, and it's definitely not one of the best James Bond films in my opinion.
I will agree. It is probably the most overrated Bond movie, but I still think it's good enough. It's decent. It's quite fun. Best of the Brosnan films, but not for me, not fantastic. It's just because some of the direction for me is weird. Like it's just strange in places.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, there are just some weird elements to it, and the whole Soviet Union plot, where I mean, well, this scene's interesting here.
Yeah, I think this opening is really good. Actually, I think it's a great sort of way to hook the audience in. It's quite impressive how they break in, they have the big fight, and then Brosnan how he escapes on the little plane.
Yeah. I mean, for me, this scene is a good opening scene, and I do think the movie has a lot of good stuff in it. I don't love it like other people do. I think it's overrated because of the video game. Like everybody loved the GoldenEye video game, and I think that's a big reason why people love the movie as well.
I also think from a story point of view, because this is a flashback, I don't think it would have been good to have Dalton in this scene because he would have looked too old then. So, and then the rest of the film is 9 years after this. So then Dalton would have had to have looked older as well. So it may not have worked with Dalton. As much as I would have liked him to come back, maybe it was for the best that he decided to step down from the role.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that soundtrack is. I mean, this is a good action scene, but the soundtrack kind of ruins it a bit. Like the like, you know,
it's like a synthesizer.
It just doesn't kind of fit it. If it was John Barry, like he would have had, something like like something epic. Like this is just kind of silly. The soundtrack.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind the sort of the variation of the Bond theme, dun 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 dun, but the rest of like all these sound effects, like the like what the hell is that? You know, it's a mess. It's a compositional mess.
Yeah. Well. Although one thing I will say about GoldenEye, it's set 9 years later, but Brosnan doesn't look any older. He looks the same. This is a flashback scene. He looks the same 9 years later. You know, they could have done a better job of making him look a little bit younger here, or Brosnan look a little bit older in GoldenEye.
Yeah, I think it would have been good to make him younger because then he would have had to have looked that old in the other films as well.
All I have to say is this scene is so stupid. How could you, how could you, ride a bike off a cliff and then manage to find yourself, find your way onto the plane? That's just ridiculous. I'm sorry, but he would fall off and he would die. There's no way he could glide himself onto the plane after he fell off the bike. I mean, it's completely ridiculous.
True, but it is an impressive stunt.
Well, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense how he could do that. Like,
there are other stunts in the series that don't make sense as well.
Yeah,
you kind of do have to take certain liberties, but
I mean, it wasn't a stunt. It wasn't a stunt anyway. I think it was green screen because Brosnan didn't do that. No.
Dun dun. Here we go. The title sequence.
Yeah.
I actually quite like this title sequence. I mean, it is a bit random. There's no real theme to it. I mean, obviously they have a golden eye in the sequence, but there's other random bits that they throw in.
Yeah.
It's, visually it's a lot more appealing than the previous two because it's not just women. There's other things in it, which is good. And the song I think is really good. I like Tina Turner's song.
Yeah. No, I think this is a lot better title sequence than the title sequence. But I mean, I think Morris Binder's last few title sequences in the 80s just weren't that great. I mean, his title sequences for License to Kill and Octopussy and A View to a Kill, I mean, they were kind of they were kind of rubbish, really. I mean, I think Kleinman does a much better job here. And I do like this title sequence. I mean, there are weird things in it, but it's still a good title sequence. It's definitely a lot better than some of the other title sequences he did for the Brosnan era. Like, I mean, the Tomorrow Never Dies and World's Not Enough title sequence, I just don't care for, really.
I mean, it's the best title sequence of Brosnan's era, that's for sure.
One thing I will say is I find it weird that the gun comes out of the girl's mouth.
Like the cigar in the woman's mouth and the gun coming out of her mouth. That's a bit strange.
Yeah.
But I like the Russian flags and the colours of it. Like, it looks nice, like the orange.
Yeah, and the statues of Lenin and stuff, that's pretty good.
You never know. So close to be denied.
Yeah. I mean, I will say that the song by Tina Turner is good. I mean, I don't think it's one of the best Bond songs, but it's definitely not one of the worst. And Tina Turner does sing it well. It's just some of the lyrics don't really make that sense, but it is a good song.
With a golden eye. Good tune. I'm surprised that the song was written by Bono. I didn't realise that.
Yeah. I mean, it's quite interesting that this is the first Bond film after the end of the Cold War, because, I mean, the Cold War ended in 1991, and the last Bond film was 2 years before that. So this is the first Bond film, really, to deal with the end of the Cold War. And a lot of people thought that James Bond might be irrelevant after the Cold War, like that you wouldn't really need James Bond after the fall of the Soviet Union. But they managed to find, you know, new enemies and new situations to deal with.
Yeah, I just want to say very briefly before we continue that final shot of the title sequence with the golden eye was really cool. I thought that was a great way to end the sequence.
Yeah.
What the music? Eric Serra, what the fuck are you doing with the soundtrack?
Yeah, it is awful.
It doesn't sound like James Bond. It sounds like it's a Fast and Furious movie.
Yeah, to me, it sounds like the music from that PS1 game, Porsche Challenge. You know, it sounds like a video. It sounds like a video game soundtrack. You know.
Yeah. I mean, this car chase is interesting. I like this, how they introduced Xenia. And actually, they parodied this in Johnny English Strikes Again, which is quite funny. But it's nice that we have the DB5 as well, Brosnan driving the DB5, because I think it was the only Aston Martin they could get, because I think they had some kind of feud, so then they had to make a deal with BMW, which is why Brosnan has a BMW in these movies until Die Another Day, when they managed to sort out their differences. Then they got the Aston Martin vanish, lol. God.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. This is the first time we've seen the Aston Martin DB5 since Thunderball, I believe.
Yeah, I think it had been a long time since we'd seen it.
Yeah, it wasn't in You Only Live Twice. Wasn't in Honor Majesty's Secret Service, Damned If Forever, Live and Let Die. So, yeah, it's been 30 years since the Aston Martin DB5 was last in a Bond movie.
I mean, after this, we wouldn't see it till Casino Royale, I don't think.
Yeah. But, I mean, I'm glad they brought it back because, I mean, as much as I love the Lotus, the Aston Martin is definitely one of the trademark cars of James Bond, probably the trademark car, you know.
Especially the DB5, because that was kind of in Goldfinger, you know, that was the first car that really became James Bond's car. And, you know, they've got to use it in the next movie. I'd love them to use it for Craig's last film. Yeah.
I mean, I'm surprised that he didn't use the Aston Martin during the Roger Moore era. Instead, he had the Lotus. I mean, the Lotus is kind of Roger Moore's signature car, and the Aston Martin is kind of Connery's signature car. You know.
I kind of like this lady that's driving a car with him. Actually, interesting how Bond charms his way out of.
I think Brosnan is trying it on with her.
Yeah.
I mean, all I have to say about Brosnan is, you know, I think Brosnan, you know, for me, he was the wrong choice because, you know, I think Brosnan, he's just too bland in the role. I mean, he said, you know, when he was doing.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind Pierce Brosnan as Bond. I don't think he's the best, though. He has a certain smoothness about him, and I like the way he interacted with that female. But he was let down by the poor filmmaking of his era. Other than this movie, the next 3 movies were not going to do him any justice. And he never really found his feet in the role. But I always appreciate that he did have a certain smoothness about him, even if it was derivative of Roger Moore or Sean Connery. But, you know...
I think my problem with Brosnan is I think he's too smooth, if you know what I mean. Like, I mean, I think you said
never really be too smooth as James Bond.
Well, no, I mean, I think you said it, like, in your review or whatever, that you said you thought Brosnan was too smooth. I mean, I think...
That was you, my friend. That was you.
Well, no, but I remember you saying it as well. Like,
at the time, I agreed with you, but now I think his smoothness works. But I'm not saying that he's great in the role, but because he's not. But he has a certain charm about him. I can see why they cast him, but yeah, he never found his feet in the role, which is a real shame. Because he had potential.
No, I mean, I don't think... look, I mean, I don't blame Brosnan for, you know, the quality of the films and all that. I just don't think he brought that much...
gravitas.
I don't think he brought gravitas. And for me, I think you can be a bit too smooth as James Bond because, you know, with Brosnan... you know, he just doesn't have like as much roughness as Craig or Connery, and I think like you said, like I think he tries to be smooth like Roger Moore, like, and I think for me he's just a bit too smooth, and like, I mean, it was you who said this, and I agree. I mean, kind of whispers as well. Like, I mean, some reason like Brosnan, like it's kind of hard to hear his dialogue sometimes in GoldenEye or his Bond films because, like you said, he kind of whispers. Like, it's like I laughed in your review when you said "speak up," you know.
Yeah, he does speak quite. He's much more softly spoken. But you know, this film is still good. I think his performance is okay in this film, but I mean, he's pretty much just okay in all of his films. But the films are gradually getting worse, which is a shame.
Well, I mean, I think, like I said, Brosnan said when he was making GoldenEye that he was insecure in the role, and you know, Brosnan, you know, for me, the reason why he's the worst James Bond is because he's just very bland in the role. He doesn't really bring anything new to it. Like he said in interviews, like he was trying to combine Roger Moore and Sean Connery and even Timothy Dalton, and he just kind of comes across as very bland, and you know, and his Bond doesn't really go on a journey. His Bond doesn't go on a journey like Daniel Craig or and you know, for me,
funny you say that. The way he just said the line, "Name's Bond, James Bond." I mean, it's not bad, you know, but it's just, you know, it lacks that kind of oomph, you know. Yeah. I think he would have had potential had the filmmakers around him been better. If they'd have found a direction to go down, then I think the films would have been better, and he would have been better. He was misguided by the filmmaking, and because he never really figured out what he wanted to do, he just tried to combine elements of the others, which in hindsight isn't a bad idea, but it just makes for a kind of confusing portrayal. I don't know what Brosnan's intention was with the role, which direction he wanted to take it, and I don't think he knew which direction he wanted to take it. I think he was experimenting with this first movie, and what he did, he just kind of stuck with it because he didn't really know where to take it afterwards.
Yeah, I mean,
the stories were going into the next 3 movies. The stories went back into campy land. I mean, this movie tries to go in a more serious direction, despite some of the weird themes that we come across shortly. But the next 3 don't serve him well. So the filmmaking is also half the problem, really. But
yeah, no, I mean, like I said, I don't completely blame Brosnan, and I don't have anything personally against him. You know, like I said, you know, I'm sure he's a nice guy in real life, and I don't have anything personally against him. I just think Brosnan, I think he was let down by the scripts. I mean, he even said that he found that, you know, he thought, you know, when he was delivering the one-liners that they were really cheesy. And, you know, and like I said, he was insecure when he was making GoldenEye. So, I mean, I think you could see on the screen that his performance is a little bit wooden. It's a little bit bland.
Yeah,
and, you know,
he's a bit stiff.
yeah, I mean, and, you know, to me, like, you know, I think he could have been a lot better as James Bond if he was given better material. I mean, the material here in GoldenEye is pretty good, but the material
That's what he's gonna get.
but the material in the next 3 films, like the bad plots and the cheesy one-liners, it just doesn't help his Bond. And also, I think the reason why Brosnan, I think the reason why he's my least favorite as well is because he doesn't really have any emotional moments. He doesn't have any standout emotional moments as Bond. I mean, I know George Lazenby is your least favorite James Bond, but for me, I think the reason why I prefer Lazenby is because of, you know, that last scene in
Ugh.
Yeah.
This scene makes me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Oh God. It's funny, we got a new viewer on the sex scene.
Yeah, maybe they wanted to tune in for that, see our commentary on that.
I don't know what to say about this. I mean, Famke Janssen, she's a very attractive woman, but she gives a really weird performance. I mean, what the hell was Martin Campbell thinking directing this scene? I mean, it's just creepy, the fact that she can kill people like this. Like, from her legs, you know, like that she's strong enough to do that. Oh, I can't watch this.
Yeah, it's just weird.
Oh.
What I find weird about it is what I find weird about the character Xenia on the top is she gets more of a thrill out of killing people than actual having sex. You know, she gets more of a thrill of killing the person than having sex. It just doesn't make sense. And I think
actually, it's probably a mixture of the two.
Yeah, but I mean, talking about the character Xenia on the top, I mean, I think Famke Janssen, you know, I mean, she is very attractive and she is a good actress, but I just think the character Xenia on the top is just really weird. Like, I mean, I'm sorry, but how could you crush men between your thighs? How could you have, I mean, you must have thighs of steel to do that. I mean,
yeah,
you
plus
know,
that guy that she was having sex with, he's not exactly he's got a bit more punch on him than her. She's skinny, and he's a bit chubby. So yeah, but whatever. It's a Bond movie. But yeah, that was a bit of an uncomfortable scene to watch. But one thing I will say about Brosnan is, at least, well, at the start of his era, he was quite good in the action sequences. I mean, in Die Another Day, he gets his ass kicked, but in his first 3 movies, he's at least doing all right with the action scenes. But you know, he got that bit right.
Yeah,
I think all the Bonds actually they all did very well with the action sequences. All 6 of them, I think, have their moments with the action, so they never got that wrong, which was good.
I mean, for me, just going back to what I was saying before that, what the fuck?
Face. That guy's face is this.
That's just weird. I'm sorry, but that is completely weird. Not only that, but did you notice that he had a different facial expression when he fell out of the cupboard than when he landed on the ground? Like, what?
Wow.
I mean, I mean, that's why
Bond didn't commit necrophilia in his first movie.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why GoldenEye isn't one of my favorites as well is just because some of the direction and some of the choices in the script are just really weird. Like, I mean, I think Martin Campbell's direction is just kind of weird in this movie. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I mean, Xenia Onatop, that is a good name. I'll give it that.
yeah,
And she does give a great performance.
yeah,
But, yeah, it is weird, very weird.
yeah. I mean, I mean, you know, for me, I mean, going back to what I was saying before you were interrupted by that weird sex scene, just talking about Brosnan's performance, like I said, the reason why he's my least favorite Bond, like the reason why, I mean, like I said, I know Lazenby's your least favorite, but I think the reason why I prefer Lazenby over Brosnan is because Lazenby did have that one scene at the end on Her Majesty's Secret Service, that one scene where Tracy dies, and he gave a good performance there. And Brosnan, for me, he has no standout emotional moments. There aren't any really standout scenes for Brosnan as Bond. And I just think as well, you know, like I said, Brosnan's Bond, he doesn't go on any journey, you know, in any of his films. Doesn't really his Bond just doesn't really have that much of a personality because he's trying to combine them all together. And you know, like I said, I don't think it's all Brosnan's fault. I mean, you know, like the scripts did let him down, but I just don't think Brosnan really tried that much either. Like, you know, I mean, yeah.
Regarding that previous scene, why would he run out in public on the runway to try and jump on the helicopter when he knows he's not going to reach it? You know, he could have, even if he jumped, he would have just fallen down onto the platform. That was a bit of a silly thing to do, really.
Yeah, I agree.
And here we're introduced to two characters, one of which is Natalia Simonova, who's our main Bond girl, and also the I Am Invincible Boris, who is this hacker.
Yeah. I mean,
Alan Cumming's good, but the character does get slightly irritating after a while.
Yeah. I mean, the characters to me in GoldenEye, like Boris, I mean, I have to say.
I mean, Natalia's all right, but God, she screams a lot in this film. You know, I really think that they could have cut down the screaming. I mean, her character's not bad, but she just kind of gets caught up in all of it. There's no real reason for her to be there. I don't know. Yeah. From Boris. God, those computers are old. It's interesting because this film was, I don't know where Jack has gone. This film was made in 1995, so the computers and our technology was much limited back then. So it's interesting to see, watching this film, how far we've actually come since then. And this is actually it's not a very old film. This film, it's only 23 years old, so that's still fairly recent. It's not too old. So technology really has come a long way, especially in the last 5 years, 10 years. It's really advanced quite a bit. I do think Alan Cumming in this film is I'm invincible. Is charming as Boris, even if that line does get slightly annoying at points. And Natalia herself, she's good. But yeah, as I said, she just kind of gets caught up in all of it. Not quite sure why she's there, but you know, Boris. Jack, where are you? dun, dun. Hopefully Jack will come back. Yeah, I think it's interesting that this film coming out when it did. Oh, hi Jack.
Sorry, my Wi-Fi went down for a minute, but I'm back. It's okay now.
Hopefully that's not going to be a recurring problem.
No, it was just for a minute. I mean, talking about like the characters, I mean Natalia for me, she doesn't really stand out as a Bond girl. I mean, the actress isn't bad. It's just she's kind of annoying the way she screams all the time, like wake up and all that, like God. I mean,
Yeah.
her character's a bit bitchy as well when it comes to Bond. Like she's a bit of a bitch to Bond as well. Like she isn't one of the standout Bond girls for me. I mean the actress who plays her, I mean she's attractive and but I just think the character Natalia just isn't one of my favorites. But yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think she's like one of the best. And in terms of her involvement in the story, she just kind of gets caught up in all of it, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think the story is centered around the Russians because this obviously was released. This film was released in '95, which was after the Cold War. So it was kind of. I wonder how relevant it would have been if they'd released this film in the early '90s, like 2 years, like '91 maybe with Timothy Dalton. I wonder if it would be much more controversial then. I guess everybody had accepted by that point that the Cold War was over. But it's interesting how this film tries to homage that.
Yeah, this is a weird scene where she gets off from killing all these people. Like, an Ormov Sarakshin is like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that did sort of come out of nowhere.
Yeah, I just find her character so weird. How she gets like a sexual pleasure out of killing people. I mean, I don't get it. And one thing I will say as well is, I mean, this movie was set. It was made and set after the Cold War. I find the whole plot with the Russians and all that, like, I kind of think it makes it more dated, if you know what I mean. Like the fact that you still got these Russians after the fall of the Soviet Union in the story, it just kind of makes it more dated, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I guess so. But also the film was sort of delayed as well because there were financial problems after License to Kill. So I think this plot had obviously been planned for quite some time before they released the movie. So I guess it's probably just to do with that. Or maybe not. I mean, but it most likely would have been the fact that the film was delayed. So yeah. Who knows?
I mean, to be honest, if I was the script writer, I would have ditched the whole Russian Soviet Union thing, because I mean, this is 1995, and it would have it would have made the film more dated. So I would have ditched the whole Russian thing. But yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, I do think the direction here. There are bits of it that are really good, but I just think that there are other bits of it that are just completely odd. And the script for me, the whole satellite, the GoldenEye satellite bankrupting England and stuff. I mean, it's not a bad plot, but it's just, for me, I don't see how this movie is one of the best James Bond films. I mean, the villains, Alex Trevelyan, like Sean, Sean Bean is good as Alex Trevelyan, but Alex Trevelyan just. He isn't up there with, Goldfinger, Max Sorin, Silva, Kananga, all the other great James Bond villains. Like the villains, they're good, but they're not great, if you know what I mean. They're nothing. I mean, to me, the movie is it's a decent, enjoyable movie, but it's nothing to write home about. It's definitely not one of the best Bond films, but yeah.
Yeah. You never know, you might actually like it more after we finish watching it.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, and this is the first film to use that as the MI6 headquarters.
And also the first one to have Judi Dench and Samantha Bond.
Yeah. It's interesting that, like you said, that the Daniel Craig films are a different timeline, but they use the same building and they use the same M. Like,
Yeah, they just
yeah.
did Q and Moneypenny, which I think was the right thing to do after Die Another Day.
Although I think with Skyfall, it kind of tied back into the original Bond timeline with Q and Moneypenny and the Aston Martin returning.
Well, not necessarily
Like,
the timeline, but just kind of essentially coming like restarting with the way things were. But obviously, it is a different timeline, so yeah. But it was nice that they homaged it.
yeah. She's saying stuff about sexual harassment. Isn't that even more relevant now in the Me Too era? Oh, God.
And Samantha Bond's pretty attractive, but I don't think she really got a chance to spread her wings as Moneypenny. I think she's better than Caroline Bliss simply because she has more scenes. But
I just think
as time progressed, it became a little bit more cringeworthy.
I just think the script for her isn't very good, like especially in Die Another Day, but she's got the virtual glasses on. It's like, oh God.
Yeah. It's rather hard, isn't it? Yes.
Oh God. Yeah.
Evil Queen of Numbers.
Yeah.
There's Judi Dench as M.
I have to say, Judi Dench is one of the best M's. I mean, for me, I prefer Bernard Lee, but Judi Dench is definitely, I'd say, my second favorite.
And it's interesting now seeing this film again because we know that in Skyfall, obviously, she dies. So, in a way, I know this is a different timeline, but we kind of see a journey with Judi Dench as M.
And it's kind of interesting. This is the first Bond film where Bond has a female boss, because before that, M was always a man. So, you know, it must be kind of interesting for Bond to have a female boss.
Yeah, and it you know, it works. And all these feminists that say, "Oh, we want a female Bond." Well, you know, Judi Dench was M. You know, she was the boss. She was a woman in charge. What more do you want? You know.
Don't let the feminists ruin everything. God, I mean, they already ruined Doctor Who, so you know.
They certainly don't give up without a fight.
I mean, I'm not against women's rights, and I am for equality for women and all that, but I'm not for changing male characters into female characters for the sake of it. I mean, thank God that Barbara Broccoli said they're not going to change Bond into a female, because, you know, if they did that, then it'd be the end of the series, you know, say goodbye to your fan base. But yeah.
Yeah.
I'm kind of confused. Is this scene set during the Cold Wars or afterwards?
I'm not sure. I think the opening was set in 76, I believe.
86.
I think this is 85 or 86.
It's kind of ridiculous how she survives this, but yeah. No, I know the opening was 1986, but I'm wondering if this is 1995 now, because the general's still wearing his Soviet Union outfit. So
I guess it might be, because all I know is that there's a 9-year gap between the opening and the rest of the movie.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I will say is Brosnan definitely looks the part. I mean, he's a good-looking guy. You know, he's tall. You know, he definitely looks the part. It's just, I just don't think he really delivered in the acting department. And, you know, I mean, he can act. I mean, I have seen him in other things, and the guy can act. It's just that...
I mean, he can't sing. You know, that's...
Yeah.
I mean, at least he can act, you know, but he can't sing.
Oh, yeah. By the way, did you notice the model shot of the fallen fighter plane? Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. Wow.
Isn't me, but Martin Campbell seems to be a fan of kind of extreme close-ups. Like,
yeah, I think he did it He did have a few extreme close-ups in Casino Royale, as far as I'm aware.
Not as much though.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is kind of ridiculous how she's the only survivor, like Boris and her are the only survivors. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
This film has been going on for 41 minutes.
It's gone by pretty quickly, I'll say.
Mm.
Although we're taking a while until Bond gets, to the actual. We've taken a while for Bond to actually get into the story. Yeah.
For England, James, cuckoo.
The one thing I will say about GoldenEye, License to Kill went too far with trying to change up the formula. But one thing I don't like about GoldenEye is that it went back to the sort of generic Bond formula with Roger Moore and Connery. Like with The Living Daylights and License to Kill, we had James Bond as a real human character. He wasn't just this, guy who fucks all the women and saves the day. With The Living Daylights and with The Living Daylights and License to Kill, you had a James Bond that was a human character. Like, License to Kill, at the end of it, Bond's getting revenge and you see blood all over him. He's, he's basically wrecked. And GoldenEye just kind of goes back to that generic formula. It goes back to that generic James Bond, which I don't think works for me, to be honest. Like, I think they could have made Brosnan's Bond more human, like more like the books that Timothy Dalton did. And that's one thing I think doesn't really work with the Brosnan era. Like, if they did, make Bond more of a realistic human character like Dalton, I think it could have worked. But with License to Kill, they went too far. So I think they thought for GoldenEye, they may as well go back to the generic formula because that's what worked before. But yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Like, would you agree that, maybe Brosnan's Bond would have worked better if he was kind of more human, like Dalton's Bond? Like,
Yeah, perhaps. There is nothing wrong with going back to the classic style. But the fact is, it's just kind of hard to, I feel like I'm seeing bits of other movies, like bits of Roger Moore, bits of Connery, bits of Dalton. I'm not seeing a Pierce Brosnan movie, kind of, but at the same time, because he doesn't. Yeah, it's a little bit confused in terms of style, but
yeah,
I can't deny that this movie is entertaining, and I'm actually enjoying it.
yeah,
but it's not.
Well, I don't think it's
not among the best. It's just that for me, it's that what puts me off is the direction. Is that some seems weird.
I agree. Yeah, I think the direction is weird. It is a bit weird.
This is the weirdest Bond movie of the series.
Yeah. People say A View to a Kill, but I think this is even weirder. Like,
yeah.
Is it me?
License to Kill kind of suffered with the tonal inconsistencies, especially when they brought the ninjas out. That really didn't work. But,
for me, I prefer License to Kill because at least it tried to do something different with Bond. Even though it was kind of a bit confusing and all that, for me, I prefer it because, Dalton, they were trying to go in a different direction and they were making it darker. They did go too dark, but with GoldenEye, they kind of go back to that generic Bond formula, which, I like you said, it's not a bad thing, but I just think, like with Daniel Craig, you had a human James Bond, and with Dalton, you had a human James Bond. So maybe I think, with the 90s, they could have just made Bond more human like he was with Dalton instead of having him being like a Superman, like super action hero again. Like,
not a Superman.
Yeah. I think what's also interesting about GoldenEye is the fact that that this was the first Bond film in the 90s and it was the mid 90s. It wasn't the early 90s, but yeah.
I like this scene very much. This scene between M and Bond, when she says, "You
Yeah.
don't like my methods, but I think you're a sexist, misogynist dinosaur," which is, I think, a classic line from Judi Dench.
Yeah, I agree. And I think her performance is great. I mean, she gives a great performance in all the Bond movies, but I think her performance here is really good too.
How she can drink on the job. I think what's interesting is that because she's worked with two Bonds, you see the very different chemistry with them.
Yeah.
And she said that in an interview. She said the thing is about Pierce Brosnan and two very different actors, so they work very differently. But I think she gets more involved personally with Craig's Bond, but
Yeah.
she certainly is a good boss in the Brosnan era. I'm really glad here as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think she works a lot better with Daniel Craig, but she's not bad with Brosnan. I don't think, like you said, she just isn't as involved with Brosnan's Bond as she is with Daniel Craig's Bond. Because, like in Skyfall, she's kind of like a mother to Bond in that. Like, I mean, not actually his mother, but there's kind of a maternal sort of relationship at the end of Skyfall. Yeah. Like, yeah.
And then Silver was like the jealous brother.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I will say is that, I mean, I think Brosnan looks a little bit like Roger Moore. I mean, I've seen pictures of him, like recently, and pictures of Roger Moore, and Brosnan, he does kind of look similar to Roger Moore, in my opinion. I mean, not completely, but he does kind of have the same sort of look about him, like he looks kind of like Roger Moore to me a little bit, Pierce Brosnan, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, plus Brosnan's getting older now. You know, he's no spring chicken. I mean, he's in his 60s, so he's got a lot greyer.
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting is Brosnan was 43 when he did this. So if they offered him, if he took the role in '87, he would have been younger. So I mean, I think that's the reason why he didn't look as good in Die Another Day. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think Die Another Day he was like approaching 50.
Yeah. There's what's his name? One of the Bond producers, Richard Maybaum. Yeah. He's one of the Soviet.
Michael G. Wilson.
Yeah, sorry, Michael G. Wilson. Yeah, sorry.
Oh yeah, I see him. Do you think Ormov was kind of based on what's the guy's name? The one in Octopussy, Orlov. To me, they're kind of similar. I mean, the fact also the names are very similar as well, and they're both Russian. You know, to me that seems quite derivative.
Yeah, I think you may be right. I think you might be right about that. Like they might have just reused his name and based him a bit off the one from Octopussy. But yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why GoldenEye isn't high up in my ratings because like I think the plot, the fact that you still have the Russians involved after the Cold War ended kind of dates it a bit, but this is a good Q scene, I'd say. Right.
And dear old Desmond, blessed him, he's still going in this film. And
I think maybe he was a bit too old at this point. I mean, you could definitely tell that he's a little bit slower in the way he talks and moves, but it's still nice to see him as Q. Right.
Yeah, but it is nice that they kept him as long as they possibly could because they clearly value him very much, and the public clearly valued him, and he was a staple of the Bond series. So it was nice that they kept him on, and he's the one thing that remained the same in this movie. Compared with the last movie, he was the one person that came back in the cast, so that was nice. But obviously, he would only do another 2 more films, so
Yeah.
he wasn't going to be around for much longer. Bless him. But...
Oh, was the Aston Martin dispute in this film the same? Was the Aston Martin dispute because they had BMW in this film as well? Because there's a BMW car there.
No, I don't think it was to do with it being in the film. I think it was outside of the film. The producers and the filmmakers had a feud with Aston Martin, the company, and as a result, they kind of closed their deal down to say, "Oh, you can't use our cars in your films." So then they approached BMW and drew up a contract, and then I think after The World Is Not Enough, they resolved their differences with Aston Martin, and hence using the Vanish. The Vanquish in Die Another Day.
God. Aston Martin calls it the Vanquish, we call it the Vanish.
Yeah, and I'm glad that we got to keep the Aston Martins for the Craig era, especially for Casino Royale when we had that fantastic stunt where it spun around like 7 times.
Yeah. It looks like an Auton.
It does, yeah. A spearhead from space.
Oh, yeah. Great story.
Bond just said the writing's on the wall.
Oh, well, that was about 20 years before that.
It's my lunch.
I mean, it is kind of tragic how Desmond Llewellyn passed away, but he was already an old man at that point. But it's still sad that he died in a car crash. But yeah.
Yeah. Oh god. Here we come to the sad comic relief character, Jack Wade.
Oh god.
Why is this guy even in the movie? Why is he in it?
Yeah, I mean, Joe Don Baker. You know, I'm sorry, but I thought he was better as a villain than the comic relief character. I mean.
Yeah, and even in that, he wasn't developed very much.
Yeah, I mean, Jack Wade, he's just a poor man's version of Sheriff J.W. Pepper. They're trying to make him like Sheriff J.W. Pepper, but he's just not funny. Like, you know, he just isn't a funny character. Like,
yeah, where's Felix Leiter when you need him?
Yeah,
Jack Wade is supposed to be CIA or something. Why not have Felix?
I mean, to me, Brosnan, he just doesn't really come across that tough to me. He's just, I mean, he's too much of a pretty boy to be a tough guy, if you know what I mean. Like, that, I mean,
Muffy.
Well, oh God.
Can you imagine if in Casino Royale, Daniel Craig said, "I thought M was a randomly assigned letter. I had no idea it stood for Muffy."
Yeah. I mean, for me, Brosnan, he's not bad in the action sequences, but I can't really buy him because he's just too much of a pretty boy. I mean, every scene Brosnan's in, he always kind of look like he always looks like he's like putting on a look for the camera, like he's making like a face for the camera, like, you know, like, yeah, he just doesn't. I mean, Daniel Craig, I could buy in the action scenes better because he's big, brawny guy. But Brosnan, like, you know, like, I mean, there you see him there in the camera. He's just looked like he's pulling that kind of. He's like, you know, pulling that kind of face for the camera, like, you know, like sort of like, oh, look at how pretty I am. But, yeah.
Oh God.
I mean, his lines aren't really that funny, to be honest, Jack Wade.
Yeah. I'm wondering if he was meant to be funny. Was he meant to be funny, or did he just?
I think he was meant to be funny, but he's just a shitty version of Sheriff J.W. Pepper. I mean, you know, Sheriff J.W. Pepper, I mean, he was funny. Like, you know, you're not thinking of, I sure am, boy. And, you know, like, What are you, some kind of doomsday machine? Yeah.
How did Natalia escape from the mountains?
Yeah, I don't understand that either. Like, surely she would be surely she would be freezing to death and, starving. Sure, she would have died of hypothermia. I mean, she was climbing up like mountains in a snow blizzard. How the fuck is she still alive?
I don't know. I might have missed that bit.
I mean, and she still, she doesn't look like she's been out in the rough weather. Like, she looks like she
very much hair and makeup team.
yeah, she looks like she's just come back from a modeling shoot or something. With that jacket on.
I think we all knew that Boris was going to betray her. Yeah, Boris is not a trustworthy person. Excuse me.
I mean, you'd think you'd think that she would be suspicious of Boris, the fact that he was the only one who survived.
Yeah, he actually left her there. He basically fucked off as soon as the Oromov and Xenia attacked the base.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was saying, yeah, Boris just pissed off,
Yeah, I mean, I just don't understand how she isn't a lot more suspicious of him because, like you said, he just left, and then as soon as he left, the whole place was destroyed and everybody was killed. If I was her, I'd be suspicious of him. I would think that he was the one behind it, or he was the one who helped them, like, because he's the only survivor apart from her, Yeah. I mean, again, like, just that face that Brosnan pulls, like, that kind of, like, smug kind of face, like...
Yeah, that serious look on his face.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the gravitas of the screen presence for Bond, which is a shame. Can tell he's not really sure what to do. He's just kind of going through the motions. It's not a bad performance, but it's like, come on, Pierce. You've got to give Bond that edge, and there just isn't the edge.
Yeah, I mean, just very bland in the film. Like, he doesn't really give it much emotion, or well, not emotion, but he just doesn't give much of a performance. Like he said, he was insecure when he was making the film, and he hated delivering the cheesy one-liners. And I think Brosnan could have been a lot better because I've seen him act in other things, and he can act. He can be a good actor when he wants to, but just the script isn't great, and
Oh yeah, and here we get one of the best characters in the movie, Robbie Coltrane as Valentin Sukovsky.
It's weird that they changed him for the video game, but yeah.
Yeah.
I have to say, I love the GoldenEye video game. Yeah. You're a wizard now, are you, Bond?
Yeah, I think Robbie Coltrane is one of the best performances in this film.
Yeah.
He's really good as Valentin Sukovsky. I really like his scene here with Brosnan. I think it's actually one of the best scenes of the movie.
Yeah. I mean, Robbie Coltrane is a great actor as well. I mean, I've seen him sing. Yeah.
I kind of wish that Sukovsky would have come back for Tomorrow Never Dies and Die Another Day, because I think he actually would have elevated those movies. Strangling the cat. Take a hike.
God.
I knew Emma's a lady. Yeah. I think I think his performance here is better than it is in The World Is Not Enough. Robbie Coltrane.
I mean, I was kind of pissed off that they killed his character in The World Is Not Enough. He didn't get much to do in that film, really. You know.
Yeah. I mean, it was nice that he kind of saved Bond, and then he kind of smiled and winked at him, and showed that he had a lot of respect for him. But yeah, I would have preferred him to come back for Die Another Day.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny because before this, Robbie Coltrane was mostly a comedy actor. I mean, I've seen him in a lot of comedies in the 80s. Like he was in the comic strip Presents, A Kick Up the 80s, and he also played the ghost of Christmas Past in Blackadder's Christmas Carol. So, yeah.
Nice. And then he would later go on to play Hagrid in Harry Potter.
You're a wizard now, Harry.
You're a wizard, Harry.
Can you imagine if, like, Zukovsky got out a magic wand and put a pigtail on the Bond?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yanis.
Yeah. Is it me, but do you think the film's kind of slowing down a bit?
It is a little bit. But hey, I'll take it over Die Another Day any day of the week.
Yeah. No, it kicks the shit out of all the other Brosnan movies.
Mm.
I mean, I think the reason why Brosnan got the role is because he looks good. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, he's an attractive guy, and he's tall as well. So
yeah. Well, apparently they wanted him for a long time. Even Cubby Broccoli wanted Brosnan to play the role.
Yeah.
This is another weird scene.
Was this the first? Yeah. Was this the first film produced by Barbara Broccoli?
I think it might be.
Yeah.
Because, or maybe the last one from Cubby Broccoli, because he obviously would have passed away before Tomorrow Never Dies. When did he pass away? Do you know?
I think 97 or 96.
Might have been 96.
I agree with you. This is a fucking weird scene. It's just so weird. Like, I mean, I just think Xenia is a very weird character. I don't know how she can crush men between her thighs. Like I said, you got to have thighs of steel to do that, and she's just kind of a weird character, I mean, Van Kajanskin is good, but yeah, like.
And then the music. Oh. Safe sex. I can only imagine Timothy Dalton saying that line. That depends on your definition of safe sex.
It just wouldn't work either because he would be older. Like Dalton delivering that cheesy line just would not work.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was Bond, I would keep the gun. I mean, she bit his lip. Fucking weirdo. She's weird. She likes to get thrown about and shit. Like.
You can break me.
Fucking weird.
First of Brosnan pain face.
Yeah. I mean, come on. How can her thighs be that strong that she can, crush Bond's rib cage?
I think you can break me.
Oh God.
It's the noise he makes.
It's like, yes.
No.
Oh God.
Bitch. In a way, I actually kind of like the way Brosnan delivered that line. He said, no. No more foreplay.
Yeah.
I mean, compared to Casino Royale, it feels like it was directed by a different person.
Yeah, I actually agree with you. His direction here is just so random and weird. You know, um, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, just every time I see Brosnan, like every time like he's on screen, he's just always like trying to like he's just pulling a pose, like trying to make himself look really handsome for the camera. Just it's like like there he's just kind of doing a little bit of a point, like like
Like, there's like a glint in his eye.
yeah,
He is a bit of a pretty boy, you know.
yeah. I mean, yeah, he just seems to be a lot of like like he just seems to have the same facial expression for most of the movie, like pulling a face, like just not pulling a face, just kind of have the same facial expression to look good for the camera. But yeah, I mean, I don't know about Brosnan as well. He just doesn't have the comic timing of Roger Moore. Like Roger Moore could get away with a lot of the one-liners that Brosnan was given because he had good comic timing. With Brosnan, he just kind of blandly delivers it. Like, time to face gravity.
Yeah, that's not in this film, luckily.
Yeah, I mean, I do say I do like I do like this scene, like the statues, like the Cold War statues, and the lighting's good.
Mm.
Um,
Also, did they ever explain how Alex survived? Because he was blatantly shot in the skull. How he
yeah,
faked death. Did
I
they...
think I think it was it could be a cap gun that the guy used. I don't know, like a blank shotgun. Like I think the guy Ormov must have used blanks or something.
Yeah. And he looks older. They actually aged Sean Bean quite well in this film.
Yeah, but they didn't really age Brosnan. Like,
No.
yeah. One thing I will say is I think Alec Trevelyan's revealed a bit too late into the movie. Like we're halfway into the movie and only now he's revealed as the villain. Like,
Yeah. And we've still got another hour to go. So
yeah. I mean, I understand why they revealed him later in the movie because, like, it's a twist, like, that it's Alec behind it, but they could have revealed him earlier because you only introducing him halfway through the movie, like, kind of, it's a little bit too late, but yeah.
yeah, I think I'd agree with that. Yeah, I think from now on, I mean, they add a lot more action into the film now. I think.
Yeah. I mean, I think Sean Bean gives a really good performance. It's just like, in the opening scene and the scene here, I just don't really buy his chemistry with Brosnan. He just doesn't really have any chemistry between them. Like they don't really act like friends, if you know what I mean. You like I mean, in Brosnan there, he didn't really look that surprised. I mean, if it was Daniel Craig or some other Bond, like you think Bond would look a lot more shocked and surprised. Brosnan just kind of looked the same, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, guess so. He kind of, yeah, he didn't really emote as much as he could have done.
Yeah, I mean, he's just kind of, he doesn't seem surprised at all that it's Alec, but yeah. Am I supposed to feel sorry for you? I mean, is the reason what is the reason that he wants to get revenge on England again? Is it because
because his parents were killed in an accident, and he blames MI6, I think, for the accident.
Yeah,
I think that's what it is. So yeah, he teams up with the Russians to bring down MI6 and Bond.
yeah.
And, what the fuck?
Yeah, God.
Wake up!
Fucking shut up! I thought fucking what's her name?
Oh,
A View to a Kill was bad. I would go, shut up. If I was Bond, I'd just tell her to shut up.
I'm a little tied up right now.
You know.
I hate the music for this film.
Yeah, it's awful. Like dum 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 dum.
It's just very convenient that the button was within reach of his head.
Yeah. Yeah, it is kind of ridiculous. Yeah, I just think the soundtrack is awful. Like they should have just brought back John Barry.
Yeah, or brought in David Arnold for GoldenEye, and then he'll have him continue till Quantum of Solace.
Penis is using his head.
I don't want to use my head.
His penis head. Yeah, I kind of agree with you. It is a bit convenient how it's right next to his head, but
It's a Bond movie. I'll go with it. You know, it's quite cool though how they managed to escape.
Yeah,
fucking lucky he is Bond. He's very lucky.
Yeah, he always seems to get out of the most dangerous situations.
With a bit of help from the script.
Yeah.
Wake up!
Who wrote the script for GoldenEye?
I think it was
Bitch.
I think it was Neil Purvis and Robert Wade, the same people that are doing the new movies.
Yeah.
I believe so. I think they began with the Brosnan movies.
Yeah. Natalia's being a bit of a cunt. I mean, you know, Bond just rescued her and she kicks him and then, you know, like...
Wake up!
Yeah, God. Yeah.
Dominic Green shrieking in Quantum of Solace was annoying. You know,
I thought... Yeah. I thought the screaming by... Oh, what's her name in A View to a Kill was bad.
Stacey.
Stacey, yeah.
Yeah. James, don't leave me! James! James!
Yeah, she screams even louder than her. Wake up! Like, shut up.
Stacey, get a foothold.
Did Neil Purvis and Robert Wade, did they did they write the scripts for the rest of the Brosnan movies, or?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. Did they write Casino and did they write all the Daniel Craig films too?
Yeah, they did, and I believe they're doing they're writing the last one as well.
Well, I think they
Danny Boyle's writers left with him, so
yeah. I mean, I think they picked up their act when it came to the Daniel Craig movies, but with Die Another Day, World's Not Enough, and Tomorrow Never Dies, they didn't do a very good job.
Yeah.
But,
well, yeah. I mean, the thing is with Casino Royale is that was based on a book, so they sort of had something to go on. But yeah, with the other ones, they had to kind of just continue. Like with Quantum of Solace, they just had to kind of continue, and then Skyfall, they just had to invent that, and then Spectre, they continued after that, and now this they'll have to continue. So yeah.
I mean, I think they definitely. I think they probably realized how bad their script was for Die Another Day, so they probably realized that if they wanted to write the next one, they would need to do a better job. You know.
Yeah, they raised their game. Also, because a lot of people complained about Quantum of Solace and the fact that there was a writer's strike, so they upped their game for Skyfall and Spectre.
Yeah, no, I don't get this. Is this because I mean these if this is set after the Cold War, these guys are still wearing Soviet Union uniforms. Like, surely, like they wouldn't be wearing these uniforms anymore with the end of the Soviet Union. Like,
well, actually, I might be mistaken, but I'm wondering whether the opening was set in 76.
Oh, no. I know the opening was definitely 86. That line just makes me laugh. Boys with toys. Like, what?
Well, James Bond in this movie is Xenia's toy boy.
Yeah. Well, more than that. Or fucking broken toy boy.
Yeah, think you can break me?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is as well, she's not. I mean, Famke Janssen, she isn't a very muscular woman. She's not very. I mean, she's quite thin, and she's
very,
not very.
very thin.
Yeah, she's very thin, and she's not very muscly. So I don't know how she could crush Bond with her thighs. I mean, it would make more sense if she was fatter or if she was more muscly. But yeah.
I mean, they cast women who are like sexy, really sexy in Bond. So, yeah, maybe in a parody of GoldenEye, they would cast someone who's a bit more plump.
This level was good in the game.
Yeah, and then you got to ride the tank, which was really fun.
Yeah,
and that's probably the best action scene of the film for me. The tank.
Yeah, I will say that is an impressive scene. And they had the James Bond score for that. I mean, that apparently that scene, the scene where they play the James Bond theme when he's driving the tank, they're originally going to have Eric Serra score that scene, but they decided to change the composer for that part when he's driving the tank, because I think they realized his score wasn't very good.
This is a pretty fun action sequence. It's quite big. Like, starts with them escaping and then ends with the tank chase, which is a really cool. That is an awesome Bond moment. I can't deny that.
Yeah.
I mean, the film moves along pretty well. We watched it for nearly an hour, 20 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely. I don't think it's a bad film. It's definitely not a bad movie.
Yeah.
I might bunk it up. Like, I mean, it's definitely much better than the 0 that I gave it originally. But I think I might bunk it up to maybe a 6 out of 10.
Yeah. Like, so you give it a pass. You said it's possible.
Yeah.
But you don't rate it, but you think it's like passable.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a piece of shit. Like, I mean, in my original review, I was way too harsh on it, but I don't think it's a masterpiece either. It's definitely not one of my favorite Bond movies.
Yeah. Ta-da.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, what is great about GoldenEye is a lot of the action scenes are really good, but it's just some of the direction by Martin Campbell is weird, and some of the characters, like the villains, just aren't that memorable. But yeah, it's not a dreadful movie. It's I can understand why some people enjoy it. Like,
yeah, and I think also there haven't been a huge amount of like one-liners, and there haven't been a huge amount of bad one-liners as well. There have been some funny lines, actually. I think it's just as the next 3 movies came along, they amped up the camp, which was the wrong thing to do.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of silly how he survived that, but...
It was like Indiana Jones swinging on his belt.
Yeah. I mean...
How his trousers falling down as well.
Yeah. I mean, I'm surprised Bond doesn't have a scratch after he smashed through a window,
Yeah. He had to, like, scratch his bollocks, Make sure there's glass in there.
I mean, he would have been cut to ribbons. I mean, he would have had, like, glass in him in his face and all that, but, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess you'll probably have to re-review GoldenEye.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Only Bond could get away with driving a tank like that.
Reminds me of the Stranglers song. I can drive my very own tank.
Damn it.
I mean, this level in the video game is fucking awesome.
This bit always puts a smile on my face. It's a classic Bond moment. That's one thing GoldenEye does have, is this moment with the tank. I mean, Brosnan should count himself lucky that he had this.
Yeah. And this is a good action scene, I will say. I mean, I don't know where I would rank this, but if I gave this a 6, I guess I would put it over For Your Eyes Only.
I think I would too, actually.
Yeah.
For Your Eyes Only felt much slower than this.
Yeah. No, I think I actually might prefer this to that, which is surprising since that's a Roger Moore Bond movie, and he's my favourite.
Yeah. And Brosnan's your least favourite.
Yeah. Fuck.
I mean, just it's a no-brainer. This is clearly the best Brosnan movie. Just it's a no-brainer by far.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I might prefer this to For Your Eyes Only because it's faster paced, the action is good, and the villains are slightly better as well.
Yeah. Plus, the plot is actually more interesting as well.
Yeah. I mean, last time we watched For Your Eyes Only, it did drag quite a bit.
Oh yeah, it did drag on a bit. I may have to re-review some of the Bond movies.
Same, yeah. Because my opinions have changed over the years since I reviewed them. I mean, I think opinions will change a lot on the Bond movies since there's so many of them. Like,
yeah. I think I'd give this movie a 7 out of 10. It's a decent flick.
Yeah.
Brosnan's best, and yeah, I mean it's just weird. Like though, some of the scenes are a bit weird.
Yeah.
But it kind of makes up for it with this moment.
Yeah.
Tank scene.
I think I'll probably give it maybe a 6, maybe a 7. I don't know. Like,
yeah, I think at least a 6 is very fair for GoldenEye.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely not a 10. Like, you know, but I mean I can understand the appeal. I mean it's a fun romp, but I mean it's nothing special. You know.
Certainly not as ridiculous as the next film.
Yeah, it definitely is the best of the Brosnan movies.
Yeah, if I were to go back to any Brosnan movie, it would be this one.
Yeah,
So it's not perfect.
kind of weird. It crashed with the statue.
Yeah, but you know what, Pierce? I'll let you get away with that.
Yeah. How is that a statue not?
Yeah.
Going on the thing. I don't know.
Dun-dun. Dun-dun, dun-dun. Yeah. Convenient how perfectly timed that was.
Yeah. Well.
I love how he just adjusts his tie.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know why you'd bring the hatch down, because they might shoot you, but... I mean, put the hatch up, sorry.
Wake up!
Yeah, I mean, I will say the movie is paced pretty well. I mean, it hasn't really dragged at all. The only scene that dragged a little was the Sokovsky scene, but apart from that, the pacing is pretty good.
I mean, for a movie that's fairly long, I mean, it's 2 hours, 10 minutes, you know, we've still got a little bit to go, but it's doing well, you know.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a bit of a, you know, mindless, you know, popcorn action munching movie, you know.
That happens to have James Bond in it.
Yeah.
Well, Alec Trevelyan got there very quickly.
Yeah. I mean, both the women here are looking pretty good.
I do like the makeup that they did for the side of his face, giving him those sort of burn injuries. You know, he does look intimidating. I think Sean Bean definitely looks like a villain, which is good.
Is it a burn or is it a scar?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's a scar that. Maybe it was a burn that turned into a scar. I'm not sure, but
Did he have that in the opening scene?
I don't think so. No, I mean it's clearly some kind of deformity, but it works quite well, I think.
Yeah. No, yeah, I think I would put this over For Your Eyes Only if I did a re-ranking because the pacing is better and the plot is more engaging. But I don't think I would put it high up there. But you know, it's definitely better than some of the other installments in the franchise. You know.
Yeah, I think there are much better movies. I mean, I think if you compare a film like this to a film like Spectre, there's some major differences.
Yeah.
Quality.
Although I don't know, how did Bond find him? Oh yeah.
Dude, what the
I know. How
hell?
did he get there so quickly? Yeah. He's just a bit of a pervert. Yeah.
He was in the tank. Yeah. It's actually Jack Wade in the other train.
Is it Jack Wade?
I swear I thought it was Jack Wade.
No, I haven't seen this film in a while.
Oh no, it's not. Sorry, no, my mistake. Of course, he's not.
Yeah. I always thought it was Bond. Yeah.
I think, yeah, I'm noticing now, since you mentioned it, Martin Campbell's use of close-ups is interesting.
Yeah, I think what makes GoldenEye kind of weird to watch is the amount. I just think his direction, like the amount of extreme close-ups that he uses, is just very weird. Like, do you know what I'm saying? I mean, like Casino Royale, he does have a few close-ups, but they're not as extreme. Like that's one thing about his direction, GoldenEye. I find kind of off-putting is the amount of extreme close-ups he uses. Like, why?
Yeah, I mean, for Casino Royale, he actually used them more for tension. Like, when Bond is strangling the black guy, I think it's Urbano, the guy who's after his money. When he fights him on the stairs and he's then strangling him before he kills him.
Yeah,
that was intense. That was necessary for him to do that. But here it's like doing it for the sake of it, which is
it's kind of random.
Yeah, I mean, obviously great shots. He's framed them well and everything, but yeah, I mean they're only meant to be cutaways, but at times it's very quick. It's like, oh wow, okay, jump cut. Like the close up of the tanks, firing thing. Was that necessary?
Yeah, I also find like the extreme close up of the guy who dies after they put him in the closet. Like it's just a bit random, Yeah.
He came out of the closet.
I mean, I think Alec isn't a bad villain, but I think he isn't as memorable as some of the other villains in the series either. He's just a bit pissed off at England, Like,
I could see him being part of Spectre. That would have been interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say like the scar kind of makes him look a little similar to Blofeld, like Donald Pleasant's Blofeld, like.
Yeah, except he doesn't dress Nehru. He just goes in a suit, which is, a slight distinction.
Yeah.
We can definitely see the influence of Blofeld.
To be honest, I would have cast Sean Bean as Bond rather than Pierce Brosnan because I mean Sean Bean's a good-looking guy and he's a good actor, so I would have cast him as Bond. I mean, obviously not now; he's too old, but I think Sean Bean would have been a really good James Bond. Like,
you can't win.
Yeah, you can't win. Well, Arumov, I think, is a bit of a shit villain. Like, he doesn't really do much.
He's all right. I've seen shittier villains. I mean, particularly in For Your Eyes Only, Christato's a very poor villain.
Yeah. Although I think Gillian Glover's a good actor, Arumov, Arumov doesn't really do anything, though. Like, he doesn't really add anything to the movie. Like, you could have just had Alec and Xenia.
Yeah, and there's sort of more of a team of villains this time.
Yeah.
One person. I mean, Alec is obviously the main villain, but there's like a load of side villains as well.
I would have got rid of Arumov. He doesn't really necessary. Like you kind of said, he's kind of similar to Orlov. He's just kind of your generic Soviet bad guy.
Yeah.
I have to say, there's a lot of action in this movie, which isn't a bad thing, you know. Yeah.
Boris.
Yeah. Boris Johnson.
I am invincible.
One thing I think is kind of silly is the laser watch. You know.
Well, you know, if it were in an older Bond movie, which I think it has been in the past, in Goldfinger, I think they used it. It works, you know. But for the 90s, yeah, it's a bit dated.
I don't think he had a laser watch in Goldfinger.
Well,
he had a buzzsaw watch in Live and Let Die.
Well, when he was strapped up in Goldfinger, I think he used his watch to escape, as far as I'm aware, didn't he?
No, he didn't. Remember, he told Goldfinger that he knew about Operation Grand Slam, and then Goldfinger turned off the laser.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Get out of there! Get out!
Go,
Get out!
go,
Get to the chopper! Yeah, I mean, if it comes down to it, the soundtrack, out of all the Bond soundtracks, I agree with you. This has to be the worst.
Yeah. I don't know what the hell Eric Serra was thinking.
Yeah, I mean, synthesizers for a James Bond movie, really? Like,
I mean, in the next few scenes, there are a couple of nice tracks as we get to see Bond and Natalia, you know, go to bed, and when they go to Cuba. But yeah, it just collectively as a score, it's a fail, which is a shame.
yeah. Oh, does it get a bit hanky-panky with Bond?
Don't when you're near me, darling, can't you hear me? SOS.
I'm surprised Brosnan isn't biting her like in Tomorrow Never Dies.
Yeah.
Imagine if Natalia died, he'd probably be sniffing her as well.
This track is alright. I quite like this piece of music.
Eric Serra, I don't think scored this part because I think I remember watching that Bond thing and he composed like half of it and then they got rid of him after the tank scene. For the tank scene, I think they got rid of him for the rest of the movie. Yeah.
Who scored the rest of the movie then?
I'm not too sure, but like, I think the Bond producers weren't happy with his score, so they got rid of him halfway through for the movie and used somebody else. Like,
to be fair, the locations in GoldenEye are quite good as well.
yeah, I think they're in Cuba or something.
Yes,
Yeah.
Cuba, which is the warmest place that they go to in this film.
Yeah. I think the last time a Bond film was in Cuba was Octopussy. Beginning of that. Yo, Jimbo!
Oh, God. Why is Jack Wade in this film? He just doesn't need to be there.
He's just not funny. He's just, you know, he's just a copycat of Sheriff JW, but not funny.
Well, we're sort of approaching the climax soon, so good.
What?
We're approaching the climax soon.
Yeah. I will say it's been pretty well paced, you know. Yeah, again, Brosnan just kind of smiling, you know, posing for the camera a bit there.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I give Pierce Brosnan this. He has more charisma than Hayden Christensen.
Well, I wasn't saying much.
Yeah, no, it's not much of a compliment, but you know, still,
Yeah.
Hayden Christensen can't act. He's a pretty boy as well.
Yeah, I think they're both pretty. They're both pretty boys, to be honest. Yeah.
But it's because Hayden Christensen's performance was kind of a joke in Star Wars: Attack of the Clones. I don't think he does very much anymore.
Yeah. Brosnan doesn't do much either. I mean, he just does shitty direct-to-DVD movies like November Man, but and Mamma Mia.
Yeah. So or he does Mamma Mia.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Mamma Mia 2 is more emotional than the first movie. That's what he said.
They closed the door on me. Well, I think the time,
nobody.
you know.
I do like the shots here on the beach. They're really quite nice. And the lighting. I mean, even though some of that looks artificial with the sun.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
It is quite nice though. It's a nice change of scene from what we have had in the earlier scenes in the film.
Yeah. Ooh.
Ooh.
A little bit cheesy, this scene, but yeah.
Oh, just you wait till Die Another Day.
And now he's our enemy and you will kill him.
She's all over that film.
That's him.
You know what?
You think I'm impressed? All of you with your guns, you're killing your dead for what? You know?
There's no need to shout, Natalia.
All the heroes I know are dead. They act like this. How can you be so cold?
I mean, this is a moment where they try and give you an insight into the personal side of Bond, but when she's like, you know, don't you feel anything? Like, why do you kill these people? You know, he's like, that's what keeps me going. You know, it's my job and whatnot. So there was an insight into his personal emotion, but it wasn't like Daniel Craig where it was fully developed. It was just a glimmer.
The way he delivered it kind of made me laugh. He's just like, oh, it keeps me alive. Yeah.
I'm not like really in favor of Bond, like, you know, kissing the girl until she likes it kind of thing.
Yeah.
It makes him seem like a creep slightly.
I think it's dated now, and also like, I mean, also if this was the 21st century, Bond would be accused of sexual harassment. You know.
Mm.
I mean, even Moneypenny said that earlier. You know. You know, kissing her until she likes it. I mean, you know, it may have worked back in the Connery days, but and the Moore days, but I think by that point Bond had evolved. Like, that's what I liked about Bond in The Living Daylights is he doesn't bed Cara. I mean, I know there was the AIDS scare thing, but what I liked about Living Daylights was that, you know, he didn't just have sex with her straight away. It was kind of like a relationship that kind of blossomed, like with, and that's what I liked about Dalton's Bond was his Bond wasn't really like a chauvinist. Like Brosnan's Bond is a lot more of like a chauvinist, you know.
Yeah.
Again. Yeah.
I think Dalton is probably the one who is the least, you know, who isn't as great with the ladies. He's not a ladies' man. He, you know, he's sort of the more harder edge Bond. Although that being said, the relationship he has with Cara in The Living Daylights is pretty good. But yeah, I think Dalton was not really meant for those romantic roles.
Well, no, I mean, I think he is quite good at the romantic stuff, and I think he can be a ladies' man. It's just, I think because the AIDS scare and stuff, they decided not to have really the same sex scenes. But yeah,
beautiful aerial.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'll say just beautiful aerial shots there.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, I mean, Calvin Dyson was saying it. I mean, this actress here, I mean, after GoldenEye, she was offered the role for LA Confidential. She could have been a huge star, but she kind of turned it down, which I'm surprised by. But yeah,
the actress that plays Natalia.
yeah.
Oh wow, I don't see her do much acting anymore.
Yeah, no, she was offered the role in LA Confidential a couple of years later, which was a very critically acclaimed film, but she turned it down. I think she said she wanted to spend more time with her family or something. So, yeah.
Hmm. Oh dear, we crashed.
Yeah.
Wah 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 wah. Come on, Bond. Out you go.
Oh my.
Oh man, this is also another weird scene when Xenia comes in and crashes the party, so to speak. What is Brosnan's obsession with like sniffing the women and touching them up, and especially if they're dead, trying to almost commit necrophilia? You know, what the hell is up with that?
Yeah. I mean, like that scene where Paris dies, it's just, he's on the bed with her, like sniffing her and stuff. It's like, what the fuck? Like,
Makes no sense.
yeah. I mean, surely, I think this is well directed, like where he wakes up and he can't hear anything apart from the propeller. But this scene is just fucking weird. Why doesn't she just kill Bond by shooting him? Why, like,
What's your turn?
God. Oh God. Yeah. Just the sounds he makes and the faces, like, like,
It is a little over the top.
yeah. This is a really fucking scene. It's probably the weirdest scene in the movie. Wait for your turn.
Wait your
What?
turn.
God.
Fucking Natalia.
Yeah. I think Xenia's death is really cartoony. Like, when she's getting...
Scream as well is a bit over the top.
Yeah, and no, but it's just like, it's so obvious that, like, yeah, her death is just, yeah, it's over the top. Like, I think it is slowing down a bit, but yeah.
She always did enjoy a good line of this film.
Yeah, bit of a cringy line, but yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we're almost there. We're almost at the end.
To be honest, I don't know. I couldn't picture any other Bond with Xenia. Like, I couldn't picture Daniel Craig with Xenia or Roger Moore or Sean Connery. It's just fucking weird.
I think, because I think Daniel Craig would probably. He's such a. He's a beefcake. So
he would easily kick the shit out of Xenia. Yeah.
God, Roger Moore. That would be weird. That dimension of safe sex.
Yeah. And it would be weird with Roger Moore, like, getting squeezed.
Oh.
Oh, it'd be like, oh!
Come on. Oh!
Or like the man with the golden gun, he says you have a magnificent abdomen. Like, oh, you have a magnificent thighs.
I'm now aiming precisely at your groin. So speak now or forever hold your penis. I think the set for the Trevelyan's base was pretty cool, actually. Bodies. Ooh.
I think it is a little bit long now, but still not too bad, you know.
Yeah. I mean, now we're going to get to kind of the action finale.
Yeah.
It's funny that the Bond movie, the next would be shorter. It would be 2 hours long. And then one, well, there's not enough, would be a bit longer than this, actually.
Yeah.
Or no, it would be like, I think it would be, yeah. I can't remember. I think it's like 2 hours, 13 hours, similar runtime.
Yeah.
And then Die Another Day would be like 2 hours 15. It'd be really long.
I guess I'll die another day. Oh, God.
Another day. It's huge. Woo! Rolling on a ring. It's actually funny being in the film a lot more than he is. But he got limited amount of screen time, actually, towards the beginning and then towards the end. There's quite a lot of villains in this film, to be fair, so they all have their moment to shine. I think this finale is pretty good, if a little drawn out. It's getting on a bit. It needs to wrap up. It's the trouble with watching it so late as well. You get really tired. But
Sorry, I was just getting an ice cream.
I'll buy you an ice cream.
Wrong movie.
Yeah. If I could fuck with the animals.
Yeah.
Funny how Bond just surrenders. He's like, fuck it. Take me.
Looks like orange juice.
It does. It looks like squash or, yeah, something like that. No, it's probably, I would imagine, of some kind, or some sort of highly flammable liquid.
Yeah. But oils usually tends to look black, not like Ribena. Yeah. The sets are good, I will say that. I think the set design here is pretty good.
I would agree with that. I think Peter Lamont's sets are very good. And he definitely sort of captured that kind of Cold War feel, even though this is just set in the 90s. But hey ho, whatever.
Cute. You think he would have some affection for MI6 after he's been there for years?
No, just years of being bitter and like, oh, you let my parents die, you cretins! I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah. It's like, grow up, mate.
Yeah, basically, he's just throwing his toys out the pram. Same with Blofeld Inspector. He's just throwing his toys out the pram. He was jealous, and then he killed his own father. You know, fuck. You know, there'll be some darkness in there.
Yeah.
Jack, don't you realize it's funny how Boris is not in the film that much?
Yeah. But when he is in it, he's kind of annoying. Like,
He's only in towards the beginning and then towards the end. I've forgotten about.
I'm surprised. You know when she clicks the button and it says encryption in progress? Surely they would have seen that and tried to stop it.
Worldwide financial meltdown.
Oh.
Also, little Alex. Oh, please, James, spare me the Freud. Might have passed before the vodka martinis. All the men. Find forgiveness in the arms of all those willing women. Or the dead ones. Want to learn the cost of the prayers.
Brosnan just doesn't really show any emotion or chemistry here with Alec. He doesn't really seem to care.
Yeah, I think he's trying to put on the kind of tough bravado, but yeah, again, it is a little bit confusing as to Brosnan's intentions with the role.
I mean, for me, Brosnan and Lazenby are kind of the same in terms of acting. They're just both kind of very bland and wooden.
Three who will die. Well, what they
Just a fucking annoying, nerdy character. Like, you know.
Boris.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, slightly. But thankfully, he's not actually on screen for very long, so we can kind of endure him.
Yeah. I mean, I think if he was on screen the whole movie, it would bring it down. It's kind of a stereotype of a computer programmer, like a greasy, dirty
computer buff.
Yeah. And Natalia is a bit too good looking to be a computer programmer, you know.
True. It's a bad film, though.
Yeah.
They should have had to have looked that way, otherwise they couldn't have cast her.
Yeah. Can't have a fucking ugly Bond girl. That would be weird if Bond had an ugly Bond girl. I mean, I think the exploding pen thing is quite ridiculous, but like they even said that in Skyfall. What were we expecting? An exploding pen? Like, how can that pen, you know, contain that much explosive? It just doesn't make any sense. But yeah, you know.
Oh.
This level in the game was so hard defending Natalia when she was reprogramming the computers.
By the way, I'm fine, thank you very much.
Bye, Boris. Bye.
I like that line Natalia gave. By the way, I'm fine, thank you very much. Yeah, Boris is kind of fucked. One of the guards are necrophiliac as well.
I do think the final fight between Bond and Trevelyan is quite entertaining.
Yeah. How does she know how to use a gun? Like, I don't get that.
Because she can. You know, it's not really difficult to use a gun, you know.
I know, but she knew how to, like, you know, put the clip in and all that, but yeah. Why stay with Alec?
You're only going to lead yourself into disarray.
If he moves, kill him.
Die, Trevelyan, die! I think Alan Cumming does give a good performance here. He is definitely charming, but just the character doesn't do an awful lot. He's in a few scenes, but I would have liked him to do some more.
And the character is kind of annoying. Like, this kind of kind of cocky, loudmouth computer programmer. Like,
I'm invincible.
oh god,
That line is definitely going to be remembered.
not for the right reasons. I will say this is a good fight scene.
This is a good final showdown.
Yeah. It is weird because GoldenEye does feel like it's made by a completely different director.
GoldenEye.
Look into my GoldenEye.
Imagine if he actually said that in the film. Look into my GoldenEye. Also, special shout out to Sam Harrison. I know he's wanted us to do this for a while, so Sam, hello. There, boy.
It's just the sounds Brosnan makes in the face.
Compared to some of his other faces.
Yeah.
No blood whatsoever. Well, actually, no, tell a lie.
Well, blonde on Alec, blood on Alec, but not on Bond.
Nice one. Oh, this is where it gets intense.
How did Alec miss that? Oh,
That's a dangerous ladder. Really dangerous. You'd be silly enough to climb down it when there's nothing you can step off.
yeah. I mean, I think you could tell this was kind of a film made for Timothy Dalton with the darker elements in it. Like,
yeah, because then they may have altered the script slightly in terms of the dialogue because they were getting a new Bond with Brosnan. Yeah. But yeah. But it's certainly not as dark as License to Kill.
Yeah. Although I'm surprised because License to Kill was a 15 and this was 6 years later. You'd think they would make it a 12 to make more money out of it. But they made this 15 as well. Like,
yeah, 'cause the fucking sex scenes.
Yeah, just take those out. Like,
Whoa. Shit, that's a long way to fall down.
yeah, I mean, I'm surprised they didn't make this a 12 instead of a 15. Like, to get more people, like, to get the family and all watching it, you know.
Speak to me!
Just Brosnan's face. I mean, no offense to Brosnan, but he is kind of funny. The way he does his silly faces.
Whoa! Hang on, Alec.
I have to say the green screen there is a bit dodgy.
Yeah, he is dated. For England, James. For me.
His death is kind of cheesy.
Yeah. Oh!
Oh, shut up, Boris. I mean, I don't get that extreme close-up of Boris there. And how the fuck is Alec Trevelyan still alive after he's fallen from that height? He would be stone dead. Like, you know...
Music is a bit sappy here.
Yeah.
Come on then, Bond, get on. Hurry up.
Yeah.
Why don't you just fly closer and let him actually go in the helicopter?
Yeah. This extreme close-up here when Alec dies is just really random. Like... what the fuck? Yeah.
Yeah, that is a little bit random.
Yeah. And like I said, how could he, like that extreme close-up and he's still alive, like, how could he survive falling from that height? He'd be dead. You know?
Oh, God knows.
Oh, God.
With nitrogen.
Yeah, thank God that you're not invincible. It's frozen solid.
I mean, he'll probably die anyway of hypothermia or something, you know.
Well, frozen to death.
Yeah.
Yeah, this scene is a bit cheesy. Yeah.
Oh, Brosnan's groaning all the time. It's like he's an old man. It's like he's going, oh.
How come she's like turned on by him now, even though she said, you know, she's not impressed by him killing and all? Like, oh God.
Oh, the bloody CIA come in.
Yeah.
They took their time, didn't they? You know, they only got here bloody at the very end when everybody died and the whole base blew up.
Oh God, Jack Wade again.
In his camo outfit.
Yeah. That's kind of stupid.
Like, why have Jack Wade when you can have Felix Leiter?
Yeah. And why are the Marines all hidden underneath hay? Like, I don't get that.
Yeah, so far away from the base as well. There's no point, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the ending is a bit sappy. It's a bit cheesy, but yeah.
Hey ho, as I said, I'd take it over the other three movies.
Yeah.
by far.
I mean, it's definitely gone up in my opinion. I mean, it's not the piece of shit that I made it out to be back in 2014, but it's not by any means a masterpiece either. You know, I don't. Oh god, the music here is awful. That end song is terrible.
Yeah, it's just very 90s. I think they
Yeah.
just used the GoldenEye song from Tina Turner.
Or the Bond theme.
Yeah, or the Bond theme.
Yeah.
One of the two would be fine.
Yeah, I mean, I thought If There Was a Man was bad, but that's worse.
Yeah. So that's GoldenEye, the first Pierce Brosnan James Bond adventure, and the 17th film. Overall verdict, in my opinion, it's good. It's not great. It's not fantastic. I don't think it's as good as everyone says, but I enjoyed it. I certainly think it is the best Brosnan movie by far, without question. It just suffers from some pacing, some weird direction, some pretty peculiar sex scenes, and a slightly stiff performance from Brosnan, and kind of an overabundance of villains, kind of not really finding a style for this movie, not really finding a direction. Well, not a direction, finding a style as to what they want to do with Brosnan's Bond as a character. But overall, it's a fun time. It's entertaining, and it gave us the tank scene as well, which was entertaining.
Yeah.
Score is awful by Eric Serra. For me, GoldenEye is just a very mixed bag. It's got some good stuff in it, but it's also got some bad stuff in it. But
Yeah.
I will take it over all three of the next three movies any day of the week.
Yeah. Same. So what would you score it out of 10?
I will score out of 10. I will give GoldenEye a 7 out of 10. Respectable 7.
Fair enough. I mean, as for my opinion, I mean, GoldenEye, you know, when I first watched it, I was not a fan of it at all, and I think I did overreact. I don't think it deserved a 0 in my original review. But I mean, watching it now and sort of looking back at it, I mean, I think it's a decent movie. I mean, you know, I don't think it's a masterpiece like people make it out. Like there's a lot of Bond fans, a lot of people who say it's one of the best James Bond films, and you know, in my opinion, it is definitely the most overrated James Bond film. I mean, I think the reason why so many people rate it highly was because it was the first Bond film in 6 years, and also the GoldenEye video game was very popular. So I think that's why a lot of people rate it highly. But
and I think actually Brosnan was popular as well because of Remington Steele. So he was obviously quite appealing to a lot of people.
Yeah, and like I said, I think the reason why a lot of people really rate GoldenEye as well is because it was the first Bond film in 6 years. So a lot of people thought the franchise, you know, was dead after License to Kill because it wasn't really a Bond film in years. But you know, in my opinion, with you know, GoldenEye, I think it's I think, you know, like I said, I think it's a decent film. I think there are problems with it. I think Brosnan is very wooden in the film. He's quite bland. I mean, like I said, I don't have anything against Pierce Brosnan personally. I mean, I'm sure he's a nice guy, and I have seen him act well in other movies. He can be a good actor. I just think Brosnan, you know, he said he was insecure when he was, you know, doing GoldenEye, and I just think his performance is kind of bland. You know, he doesn't really put a lot into the role. I mean, there aren't any really, you know, there aren't any real like scenes where he gives a great performance. He's just kind of, you know, he's just kind of like bland in my opinion. And you know, for me, Brosnan, I think the reason why he's my least favorite is just because his Bond doesn't really, you know, change over the 4 movies. And Brosnan, you know, he said he was trying to, you know, copy all the Bonds. Like, you know, he was trying to have a bit of Roger Moore, a bit of Sean Connery, even Timothy Dalton. And I just don't think it just kind of makes his Bond forgettable. He doesn't really bring his own edge to it. He doesn't bring his own.
He kind of ends up like Lazenby, kind of just very stiff in the role, not really knowing what to do.
Yeah. And you know, Brosnan, over the four films, he doesn't really get any emotional scenes. You know, he doesn't get really any scenes where he can give a good performance. And I think as the series went on and the scripts got worse, like Tomorrow Never Dies was bad, and Well It's Not Enough was slightly better, but still pretty rubbish. And Die Another Day was just completely shit. So, and Brosnan said he hated delivering the cheesy one lines. But, I mean, as a movie, I think Martin Campbell's direction is good, but there are a lot of weird parts to it. I mean, you know, all the sex scenes I just think are completely unnecessary. Just get rid of those. And I just think, you know, Xenia, you know, squeezing people between her thighs, I think that's really weird. And, like, it's just kind of odd. I just think her character is very odd, to be honest. I mean, Tom Kajan's good, but I just think all the weird sex scenes are just kind of cringy, like, you know, when she's squeezing Brosnan between her thighs, and
You can break.
yeah, and I think like some of the direction by Martin Campbell is just very weird, like just the extreme close-ups of some of the characters, like the extreme close-ups that we have in the movie, just are kind of odd, and you know the story itself. I mean, I think the story is good, but it's nothing really to write home about, in my opinion. I mean, I think the whole Russian thing, like 4 years after the end of the Cold War, was kind of unnecessary. Didn't really need that. And I think the villains, like Alec Trevelyan, I think is a good villain, but he's a little bit forgettable. He's not as memorable as Goldfinger and all. I mean, Sean Bean's good, but Alec Trevelyan isn't, I'd say, in the top 10 villains. And I think there might be too many villains. Like you got Oromov and, you know, Xenia on the top and Alec Trevelyan. Yeah, and Boris is annoying. Although he's not.
He's not in the movie very much.
Yeah, but
compared to what I remember, so
yeah.
he's slightly less annoying now. Now that I
he's slightly less annoying. But I mean, the good things I will say is, I mean, I think the action is great. I think the action scenes are really good, like especially the tank scene. And there are like enjoyable parts to it. And I think, you know, the locations are great. The plot is pretty good.
Judi Dench is M as well. Sorry, I forgot to mention that.
Yeah. Judi Dench's M is great. And I agree with you as well. Like the soundtrack, you know, the soundtrack sucks. I mean, Eric Serra's score, you know, the like just like I don't I don't understand what Eric Serra was trying to do with the soundtrack. I really don't.
Yeah, it's just weird. It doesn't complement the film very well.
Yeah, and I think the pacing, you know, for the most part, is good. I mean, towards the end, it does. Like the finale, I think goes on a bit, but the pacing is pretty good overall. So
Robbie Coltrane makes a good debut as Zukovsky.
Yeah,
that was a good scene.
Yeah,
tank scene is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's GoldenEye. I would just say it's average. You know, it's for me, it's kind of forgettable. It's not one of the most memorable Bond films. I mean, you know, like each time I watch it, it's not really a Bond film that sticks out in my mind as being a classic. Like, I mean, I think there are parts of it that are quite forgettable. It's just a fun action romp. Is all.
Then you need to wake up.
Well, I'm awake. Yeah. No, I mean, I just think, you know, out of all the Bond films, it's not the most memorable in my opinion. I mean, there are some memorable scenes at the tank scene, but it's not the most memorable in my opinion. So,
well, having said all that, is it your favorite Brosnan film?
Well, yeah, obviously, and there's not really much of a contest there. You know, I think it's easily Brosnan's best Bond film, but you know, I also think that, you know,
I mean, it could have been better. It could have been.
I think it could have been better, and you know, I would have liked them if they made Bond more human, like in The Living Daylights and License to Kill. They kind of went back to the sort of generic formula, which, like you said, isn't a bad thing. But I just think maybe Brosnan's Bond would have been better if he had more emotion, like more human elements to deal with.
Yeah,
but
he's not a Superman.
Yeah, but I mean, thankfully, Martin Campbell would do a much better job, I think, with Casino Royale. But I mean, I think he did a decent job here. I mean, like I said, I don't think it deserved the 0 which I originally gave. I think it was way too harsh on it. But watching it again, I'll probably give it a A 6 out of 10. Yeah.
Okay, so you give it a marginal pass, but yeah, nothing to write home about.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, that's pretty much that. I mean, and then unfortunately it goes all downhill from here for Brosnan. Unfortunately, I feel bad for him that the filmmaking just got really bad. Tomorrow Never Dies is shit. The World Is Not Enough, okay, I guess. And then Die Another Day is just abysmal. One of the worst movies ever made. It's so bad. The worst James Bond film by a mile. But
I feel sad for Brosnan because his era really is the Colin Baker era of the James Bond series. You know, he's got the worst. He's got the worst era out of all the Bonds.
It's unfortunate because he could have had potential. His era could have really had potential. I mean, we have to be thankful. He's at least got one decent movie. You know, GoldenEye is the only one really worth watching. It's the one that is most decent. The other three movies aren't really all that. So yeah, sadly.
Yeah, sadly, his era 1 out of 3 for me anyway. Sorry, 1 out of 4.
1 out of 4, yeah, 1 out of 4 because of 4 movies. But yeah, but oh well. So I mean, that's pretty much it, guys, from us. Jack, is there anything you want to say before we finish?
Look into my golden eye.
Excelente. So we will see you for another commentary. There's not many that we haven't done. I think we haven't done. No, we haven't done that one. Man with the Golden Gun. We haven't done. Diamonds Are Forever. There's only a few that we need to do.
Have we done Doctor No?
I don't think we have actually. That's the one we could do because that is the first movie.
Yeah, I think we've done all the Roger Moore films, haven't we?
Except Man with the Golden Gun.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think we should leave Man for the Golden Gun for a while, like, because we only have one Roger Moore one left to commentate on. So, I think maybe next time.
Maybe From Russia with Love.
Yeah,
I haven't seen that one for quite a long time.
Yeah.
I feel bad actually. I want to look at that one again and probably re-review it because I felt I was a bit harsh on it. I gave it a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I think I'll re-review that as well because I really like that film. I really enjoyed that a lot better. I mean, when I first watched it, I thought it was quite slow, but rewatching it, I'd probably give it an 8 out of 10, maybe, or a 9. Like, yeah. Well,
anyway, that's it, Bond fans. So thank you guys all for watching and listening. As always, I'm MrTardis11. This is Jack. See you later.